Hey guys, it's Jack Punkington here, and so today I'm going to do something a little different than I usually do. A while ago, like years ago, I used to do CD reviews. It was something I did every once in a while, and I thought I'd do one today, but it's interesting, I guess, because it's more of a talk about the CD rather than like a review of like the songs that are on it. And it's actually 3. But I also got this in the mail from Reverb. So I figured do a small unboxing while I talk about it, or before I talk about it. So it's nothing like big. I like the little box. I needed a new tuner, and because I always forget mine at home, and until I get a little bit more money and time, I can't buy a tuner pedal. Oh, cool. I love it when they do this thing. Little stickers. I love Reverb. Cool. Put them on my cases and stuff. And it's in another little box. It's just a little, like, clip-on tuner marked with Reverb. It was like $5, and it was actually free for me because when I had to get the power cable and the foot switch for the Randall, they paid for it, and there was a little bit left over cash-wise, like $5, so it was enough to get a tuner. So cool. So the CDs I'm going to talk about are Uno, Dos, and Trey. Before Revolution Radio came out, it was the latest albums from Green Day, I think back in like 2012. I still remember seeing the ad for Uno on TV back when I was in high school, and a lot of people didn't like those albums. I remember I would used to go to open mics and we would talk about it, and one of the guys thought it was Green Day trying to imitate British like pop music from like the 60s and try to do like a fake British accent, which I don't think is true. I've actually been listening to a lot of it lately, just because it was what I had on my phone, and my favorite is probably Dos out of the 3. Dos is like a weird album. Uno is more poppy, Dos is more garage rock, and Trey is just like a weird start, or like it starts off with like this big song that's like really like welcome to the album, and it ends with like a really somber song, which is really cool. But I think that a lot of people didn't like the album because it isn't what Green Day was like really popular for. The last album before Uno was 21st Century Breakdown, which is my least favorite Green Day album. I think it's horrible. I think there's good songs on it, but I really don't like it. I don't like the concept. It's just, to me, it's not a good album. And it seemed like what they were trying to do was follow off of the trails of American Idiot. And I have to give them credit. It is hard because American Idiot was such a big album that everyone loved. And it was like, I even talk to people who don't listen to Green Day, and who really liked Dookie, and then a lot of the albums in between Dookie and American Idiot they hated, but when American Idiot came out, they were like, this is Green Day, this is awesome. So you have to imagine the kind of pressure that they were kind of under when they came out with 21st Century Breakdown. And I think the collective masses liked it, but like the fans of Green Day who are more into like just them as an overall band really didn't. Which, you know, unfortunately that's how it goes sometimes. Bands make songs for the collective masses because that's who's gonna buy them, not the fans that have been their diehard fans. Don't get me wrong, everyone is probably gonna give it a try. I've listened to every album. There are a lot of albums that are kind of meh for me. But 21st Century Breakdown is definitely my least favorite. Uno, Dos, and Tre, though, was interesting for me. Because I think Uno came out when I was a senior. Like, I just started my senior year. Dos came out a few months later, and then Tre came out at the beginning of the next year, which is when I was ending my senior year. Because my mom, who I don't talk about a lot, she's awesome. She used to work for a CD shop, and she knew I was a huge Green Day fan, and when I went and visited her once, she gave me a copy of Uno that was a shelf copy. It's not like has the case and like all this stuff on it. It was literally just, it says Uno and it has all the songs on it. It's not burned or anything. It's what the stores would have that they would play. So that was really cool that I got that copy, and I still have it. I bought Dos, and I have a digital copy of Tre. I don't have the physical copy. That's actually kind of hard to find. But Uno is a very weird album. It's a little too poppy for my taste, but there are some really good songs on there. Dos, to me, has a good mix. Nothing's like too heavy, but it's more Green Day than I would say Uno is, where it's got more of a punky feel, and that's probably why I like it the most. And when I heard Amy for the first time, which is the last track on Dos, it was kind of haunting. It was kind of like when I heard What's Her Name off of American Idiot for the very first time, where it was just kind of like, this is definitely interesting. Which is why What's Her Name and Amy are actually my two favorite Green Day songs, because they're just different from like the whole album. If you were to listen to American Idiot from start to finish, it's very like, well, American Idiot's a story, and it's very interesting to listen to that story, and then at the tail end of it, there's just this song that doesn't belong there, and it's really cool. 21st Century Breakdown was trying to be a story. Like, I understand what they were trying to do with it, and I felt that it was very forced. That was my problem with it. It was a very forced album, and I felt like they weren't enjoying writing it. But if you watch the documentary Quattro, you can kind of see like a lot of the cool behind the scenes stuff. I've seen that documentary like 5 times, and I love just what they talk about, and it felt like listening to the process was just their process behind it was just fun. I felt like when they released those albums, though, they didn't care what was gonna happen. I mean, they probably had some sense of like, I hope this works out well, but I felt like they were more doing it for themselves, and I really like that. If a lot of people don't know, Revolution Radio came out October of last year, I believe, October or November, and it was kind of out of nowhere. For me and a lot of like my friends who were hardcore Green Day fans, we just heard about it the day it came out. I remember being on YouTube, just looking at random videos, and then all of a sudden it popped up like, hey, there's this new Green Day album, and it released today, and I was like, why was there no marketing for this? And I think that was kind of the point. If you listen to it, it is very old school Green Day, and I really like it. And I felt like when they wrote it, they wanted to get back to that, but I felt like they were kind of trying to push away like the trilogy of albums that they just released. They were like, don't pay attention to that, forget about that. Here's what you guys want. And that's kind of sad, because those 3 albums, while they're all different and they're very weird, they have merit. They have good songs on them, and they're a good listen. But I felt like they were more for the artist than the people. And Revolution Radio is kind of like a perfect mix of that. It's a very good, this is what we like to do, and this is what you like to listen. Where Uno, Dos, and Tre was, this is what we love, This is what we've created. We hope you like it. And I think a lot of people didn't like it. Now there are people that enjoy it like me. And if you watch the documentary, they talk about that they played a few free shows, they think, that that's all they played was all of the new stuff. And a lot of people kept saying, play like the old stuff, play the old stuff. Which, you know, everyone's going to do that at any show. But I think a lot of people weren't expecting it. And a lot of people weren't ready for it. It's a less harsher sound. It's more cleaned up. It's more tight. It's more, I don't want to say professional, but it's more of a different sound that they've had. You know, Green Day's always been like this, not grungy, but dirty punk, where it's very loose. It's very free flowing. And these albums were very tight. They turned down the distortion and gave him more of a crunch tone. His lyricalness was very, very desire driven, and it was very just, this is the tone that we want to go with through all the albums. And I don't think people liked it, and I don't think because it wasn't a story. Their big commercial hits, the last two were big, long rock opera stories. None of this was just, this is music. But a lot of people didn't like that because they're used to stories. And it's very interesting just to hear like different people talk about it. I felt like they needed a little recognition on that. I'm sure there's people out there who are going to completely disagree with me, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I thought I'd do something different today. So, hope you guys liked the video. Jack Punkington signing out. Peace, guys.